Hey guys, um, so you might be watching this right now and you might be feeling lonely, right? You might be feeling sad, you might be feeling like, no one really loves you, right? Like no one desires you. You want to feel desired, right? You want to feel like, someone out there desires you. You want to feel like, someone loves you. Um, and yeah, sometimes, you think to yourself, you know, like what's the point of being good, right? Like what's the point of you know like me basically being a good person, right? Like what's the point of me going to school, working, and just being a responsible person, right? Like what's the point, what's the good in it if you know and if you look around you, right, you see other people being loved, right? Other people being desired, other people being cared for, and you're looking at yourself and you're like, I've spent almost my whole life, being good, going to school, working, just being a responsible, good person, right? Like a good citizen, as they say, right? And, and yeah, you feel like, that's not paying off, right? Or you think like that, right? You might come to that thought, right? You might come to that thinking and say, you know what, none of this is paying off. Like, I put a lot of time and energy into something that is not paying off, right? Because at the end, all the people around me are, cuffed up, they're in relationships, they seem like they're, happy, but here, me, I'm just I'm in my room, right, by myself, you know yeah. And all, like, I feel like all of this, you know is not paying off, right? um and so, yeah, and this is something that, all everyone, I believe everyone, has these thoughts, right? Everyone comes to these thinking, right? This thinking of, I don't know if all of this is paying off. Like, I don't know if it's gonna pay off, right? um it's surely not paying off right now, right? Because, I'm lonely, I'm by myself, there's no one that truly desires me, there's no one that truly, you know loves me, right? um you know and so, yeah, this is something that, it runs through people's mind, right? Like, one thing about human beings, right? um we all in a way share similar thoughts, right? Sometimes it might not be the exact thought, but everyone has, moments where, they're just in a, yeah, like they just feel very emotional, right? Like they feel very unloved, right? Uncared for, undesired, right? And so I want you to know that, this is normal. This is normal. um this is normal, right? But one thing I don't want you to do is to act on these emotions, act on these thoughts, right? Because, you know yeah, you don't act on it, because, the thing that, you're trying to, I should say, you know wanting to feel loved and desired is normal, right? God has created, he created Adam and Eve, right? And he created man and women for the, one of the reasons is to, basically love one another and desire one another, right? And this is normal, right? But, God, at the end, he wants us to, do it in the right manner, right? He wants us to do it in the right manner, right? In a manner that, that, yeah, he would be happy with, right? And any love that, goes against God, is a love that, you know yeah, it's not really, um a fulfilling kind of love, right? It's not like because sometimes, like I said, we look around, right, and we see, people cuffed up, people wifed up, people together, right? And then we look from the outside in, and we're like, oh man, this person looks like they're loved and desired, right? But this is just our perception, right? This is just us looking from out, right? Like, we don't really know what is really going on, right? Like, two people might be together and married, but you don't really know, if they really desire one another, right? They could just be for you, they could just be together just for the sake of, for other reasons, right? And so, don't ever look out and think that, don't want what other people want, right? Right now you're doing the groundwork, right? You're doing the work, right? Like, you're working on yourself, right? Like, you're trying to better yourself, right? And you even know, and you know that too, right? Because sometimes and I'm saying, that when you do work on yourself, like, when you do work on yourself, you come across other people, right? You come across other people, and sometimes you don't, like, sometimes you might feel like, yo, I'm actually, and I don't mean this in like an arrogant type of way, but I don't mean this in an arrogant type of way as if you're better than people, but sometimes you might come across individuals, right? And sometimes you just, like, it just seems as if you're better, right? Like no one's on your level, right? And that goes to show you, like, how much you've been really working on yourself, right? Like, you've been working hard to improve and trying to really better yourself, right? So that one day when you do find the right person, right, like, this is gonna be a love that is gonna be long lasting. It's gonna be a love that is gonna last for a lifetime, right? If God wills. Nowadays you see people getting married, breaking up, right? Just look at how many people are leaving each other, right? How many people are getting divorced, right? And so you, on the other hand, right, it might appear right now that you don't have anyone, right? Like, and it's not gonna always be like that, right? Like, it's not always gonna be like that. The more you're working on yourself, right, the more God is actually preparing you, right? Like, he's actually preparing you for the moment, right? Or the timing, the right time, that when you do find the right person, he's preparing you for the right person, I should say, right? And that person, right, is gonna be exactly what you were looking for, right? As much as, like, it took a long time, right? It could take years and years, right, of you being single, right? Years of being alone, of feeling, sad and lonely, right? But just know, no heart, like, nothing goes to waste, right? God is aware, right? With every good that you do, with God, it doesn't go unnoticed, right? Like, he notices, he notices how much you're actually, like, how much patience you're how much patience you have, right? Like, he notices all these things, right? And so God, he doesn't do injustice, right? He doesn't wrong anyone. Whoever's actually working to please him, and trying to better themselves and trying to refrain from the wrong doings, right? As long as you, like, if you're trying to refrain from doing wrong, right, like, he notices, right? And he's gonna pay you back with something, that you're actually gonna be proud of, right? So the reason I mention all of this, is because, doubts, right? These are doubts that comes to people, right? These are thoughts and doubts, right? And yeah, and just thoughts that comes, right? And so, and I want you to know that everybody has these thoughts, right? Like everybody has similar thoughts. Some people, they might act on that thought, and then they come to find out that, it wasn't really worth it. It wasn't really worth it, down the line. But with you, you're actually, you know, you're actually, being patient, and actually trying to, I mean, as much, like I said, as much as your heart desires these things, right? And it's normal, right? Like I said, it's normal to desire certain things, to desire love, to want to feel desired, right? It's normal, right? And as like I said, right, right now you're working on yourself and trying to better yourself in terms of, right, in terms of economics, in terms of your education, right? You're right now, you're probably studying, learning, right? Trying to better yourself so that, and trying to stay away from certain things, right? And so, down the line, even if it takes 2 years, a year, 3 years, just continue to work on yourself. Like, just continue to keep going. And, Allah, who knows, Allah is most powerful, right? He can grant you, what your heart desires in a matter of, in a matter of like a year, right? Like even shorter, so, just keep working on yourself. Like I said, right? Just keep working on yourself. Keep bettering yourself, yeah, keep asking God, keep praying to God, stay away from the wrong things. And so, surely, God is gonna pay you. He's gonna repay you back, and it takes you believing that, right? It takes you actually having firm conviction that with good work, God is gonna repay you back, right? That's part of having faith, right? That's part of having iman, right? Is the idea that you think good thoughts about God, right? Like you have good thoughts about God, right? That, with all this sacrifice that you're making, all this sacrifice that you're making, God is gonna eventually repay you for it, right? Like they say, hard work pays off, right? And yeah, and don't ever think to yourself that, I'm getting old, or, like, I don't think nobody wants me, or don't ever think that to yourself, right? Because, the right person, he's gonna look beyond all that. Like he's gonna, one thing that people fail to understand is that when the right person finds you, and he knows that you're the right person, he's gonna overlook a lot of these things that society puts effort on, that society puts emphasis on, right? Like he's gonna overlook all these things like age, he's gonna overlook a lot of things because he sees what he has, right? Like he sees what has come into his life in terms of the good, right? If someone, brings value to somebody's life, right? They're willing to overlook the little things, right? Like age, right? For example, because we live in a society where people say, if you get older, you're not gonna find anyone, or no one's gonna desire you, right? And that's not true. That's not true. Yeah, some people might desire, to have kids, and to they might desire certain things, but at the end of the day, right, the right person, right, according to some people, right, some people might, overlook that, right? Like some people might be like, I don't even want kids, right? If, let's say, for example, you're at that point where you can't no longer have kids, right? Someone might overlook that because with them, they probably don't want kids, right? And so just know that, like I said, right, God, he like, to us, it don't make sense, right? Like to us, in our minds, we're like, how's this possible? Like, what are you talking about? Like, the people in our societies is like this, everybody. But it's like, with God, nothing is impossible, right? Like with God, it's like, he can bring someone into your life, right, that it just matches well. Like you guys are just so compatible that this person would overlook all of that, right? Like how many couples do we know where the woman couldn't have kids, and the guy ended up staying, and trying other things, right? Like they've actually worked together they've actually worked together, right, to try out different things, right? Or eventually they were just patient, right? And then eventually, after years and years, the woman, she started having kids, right? And so it just goes to show you that God, like the right person would actually the right person, like there's always compatibility, right? There's always a sense of compatibility, right? And so and like I said, with God, right, nothing is impossible, right? How many women we know had kids past the age of 40, right? So it's like, never doubt yourself, man. Never doubt yourself. Never doubt yourself, man. Never doubt yourself. Never feel like, I'll never find anyone, or no one desires me. Don't ever think that to yourself, because there will be someone that that will come into your life. Right now you might not see it. Right now things might be going downhill, or things might appear negative, right? Or you just might not see anything right now, right? But there'll come a time, and I'm not just giving you this hope, right? Some people might say, okay, you're just telling us what we want to hear, right? But I'm actually telling you how out of nowhere God can bring someone to your life, right? Like you might not even expect it, and sometimes you might look back and be like, yo, like how did this, like, and it'll feel right. Like that's another thing too. Like it'll feel right, it'll feel right, and it will feel right once you actually find that person, right? And yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to express. I know this video is kind of long, but I just wanted to basically speak about that, and just have hope, man. Have hope, and don't feel like you have to do other things, or get out of your elements, or try different things to attract people. You don't have to do that. You might attract people, but it's not going to be the right people, right? It's not going to be the people that you really desired, right? Because right now, given your maturity and given your understanding, you desire a certain person, right? But if you go out of that, you're gonna start attracting, you're gonna attract something else that you might not necessarily want, right? Or that might not necessarily be good for you. And just hang tight. Just take it one day at a time, and just keep going, and keep keep praying to God, right? sometimes God actually wants to see how much you want something, and how much you're actually willing to do for him, right? um how much you're willing to sacrifice, how much you're willing to work, how much you're willing to pray, how much you're willing to refrain from the bad, right? How much you're willing to go to find the right person, right? And the right kind of love, right? The right, you don't want to just find someone just to find someone, right? But you want to actually find someone that makes your life meaningful, right? That makes your life a whole different game, a whole different thing, right? And so yeah, man, just keep having hope, and just keep having hope, and keep, like I said, keep hope, and just keep praying, and just try to continue to keep pushing, right? Keep pushing forward, and just because there's always things you can learn too, right? Like a lot of the times, we sit here and we think like, oh, I'm lonely, I'm by myself, da da da. But it's like, just imagine how much you can learn, right? Or how much you're learning right now, right? That, and so when you do find the right person, you both connect, because like you both are on the same page, right? And you want that, right? You want to find someone where you guys, like the both of you are on the same page, right? Like mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like that's something that's gonna last, right? And yeah, like I said, you want to go into something that's gonna last, right? Something that's gonna last forever. You don't want to, like I said, you don't want to just find someone just to find someone, right? Because if that's the case, you can do that, right? Anybody can just be with anyone to feel loved and desired. Or you can, like other people do, they go and they, take on other endeavors, that they even know is not good for them, but they did it just to find love and desire. But, it ended up, turning back on them, and, and then they ended up in a worse situation than what they were used to, right? Or where they were before. So I was just venting. This video is getting longer, but yeah, I hope I spoke to someone in this video. Just know that we're all in the same, we're all on the same page, right? You're not the only one, in this situation. Yeah, you're not the only one. There's plenty of other people, that are on the similar page as you. So yeah, just keep going, and yeah, take care, guys.